All right, everyone. So now we're going to do part 2 of Spongebob genetics. For problem number 6, we're going to start exploring Squidward's family. So for number 6, everyone in Squidward's family has light blue skin, which is dominant trait for the body color in his hometown of Squid Valley. His family brags that they are a purebred line. He recently married a nice girl who has light green skin, which is a recessive trait. Create a Punnett square to show the possibilities that would result if Squidward and his new bride had children. Use the letter B, a capital B, to represent the dominant gene, and a lowercase b to represent the recessive gene. So let's go through real quick and pull out the most important information. First of all, in that first line, it says Squidward family has light blue skin, which is the dominant trait. So I'm going to highlight the information about Squidward. I don't know if you can see it. Let me change colors. There we go. So here we are that Squidward has the dominant trait of light blue skin. There's a new vocab word, purebred. Purebred means homozygous. Remember that prefix means same. So if his light blue skin color is the dominant trait and homozygous means same, then that's going to be big for the alleles. So that's going to be 2 capital B's. And since he came first in the word problem, I'm going to put him on top of the Punnett square. He recently married a nice girl who has light green skin, which is the recessive trait. So since you know that that is recessive, it's going to be little for little b. And since she came second in the problem, I'm going to put her on the side of the Punnett square. So let's make our Punnett square. Put homozygous dominant on top. And we're going to put homozygous recessive on the left. Now we do our matching game. Remember, we always put the dominant trait out front. So big little, big little, big little, and big little. So our first question asks, list the possible genotypes and phenotypes for their children. So I kind of made a table on my page. So since we're using the letter B, we would do big, then big, little, then little, little. Now, just because we listed the genotypes, remember, you do not always have to have all of them. So looking at our Punnett square, we have 100% heterozygous big, little. For the other genotypes, we have none. For phenotypes, that would be the skin color, what we could see. So the skin color, we had blue. That was the dominant trait. Green was the recessive. I'm going to shade in on my Punnett square all the dominant traits. I still have at least one dominant allele, one capital letter. So all of them have at least that dominant trait outshining the recessive. So they're all going to have blue skin color. So letter B, what are the chances of a child with light blue skin? Well, if they're all 100%, you have a higher possibility. So that's 100%. Letter C, what are the chances of a child with light green skin? Well, we didn't have that possibility. So that would be 0%. Letter D, what would Squidward's children would they still be considered purebreds? Explain. Well, remember, purebreds are homozygous. All of these offspring are heterozygous, which are not called purebred. Those are called hybrids. So we would write this out in a sentence. So no, they are all heterozygous, which are hybrids. All right, next problem. Now we're looking at the offspring of Squidwards. Number 7, assume that one of Squidward's sons, who is heterozygous, for light blue body colored, marry a girl who is also heterozygous. Create a Punnett square showing the possibilities. So they're both heterozygous. Remember, hetero means different. So that's going to be big, little. So it's heterozygous on top for his son. And then the girl is also heterozygous. So it's going to be big, little on the side. So let's fill in our Punnett square. We labeled our genotypes on the top and the side. Now we do our matching game. Big, big. Big, little. Big, little. Little, little. Now we write out or answer our questions. We're listing our genotypes and our phenotypes. Big, little, and little, little. Looking at our Punnett square, we have 1 out of the 4, so 25% is big, big. We have 2 out of the 4, which is heterozygous. And then 1 out of the 4 is little, little. So for phenotypes, you have the color of the skin, so blue or green. So I'm going to shade in the dominant color, which is blue. Has to have at least one capital allele or one capital letter. Big Big has 2. Big Little, those have 1. So our answer is 75% blue, 25% green. So B, what is the chances of the child with light blue skin? You should have 75%. And letter C, what are the chances of a child with light green skin? 25%. All right, number 8. Now let's look at Mr. and Mrs. Krabs. Now this one is a little different from the TV show. Mr. Krabs and his wife recently had a little Krabby, but it has not been a happy occasion for them. Miss Krabs has been upset since she first saw her new baby who had short eyeballs. Okay, so her baby has short eyeballs. She claims that the hospital goofed and mixed up her baby with someone else's baby. What a scandal. Mr. Krabs is homozygous for his tall eyeballs, while his wife is heterozygous for her tall eyeballs. Some members of her family do have short eyes, which is the recessive trait. So the tall eyes are dominant, short eyes are recessive. Create a Punnett square using the capital letter T for the dominant gene and the lowercase t for the recessive one. So let's first look at Mr. and Mrs. Crab, okay? So Mr. Crab is homozygous. We know that that prefix means same, and tall eyeballs are dominant. So his is going to be 2 capital T's, and that will go on top. His wife is heterozygous. Hetero means different. So that means big, little. So capital T, lowercase t, and that will go on the side. All right, now let's fill in our Punnett square. Now let's match them up. Big, 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 little, big, little. So now we're going to list our genotypes, which are the 2-letter combinations, and our phenotypes, which are the characteristics. We have big, big, which we have 2 out of the 4. So that would be 50%. You have big, little, which was 2 out of 4, which is also 50%. Some of you might want to write a half, and that's fine as well. Little, little, we have 0%. Phenotypes. Tall eyeballs are our dominant trait. Short eyes are the recessive. So for tall, it has to have a capital T. Well, big, big has 2. Big, big has 2. Big Little has to have at least one, and it does. Because remember, the dominant outshines the recessive. So, the chances of their offspring having short eyes is 0%. Their child is more likely to have tall eyeballs. Okay, so there's a couple ways we can answer the last question if this was like a scandal or a soap opera. Did the hospital make a mistake? Explain your answer. Well, there's a couple ways we can look at this. If you say yes by looking strictly at the Punnett square, the chances are very slim that the offspring would have short eyeballs. So you would say, yes, the hospital did make a mistake. So because the Punnett square showed tall eyes are 100% and short eyes are 0%, baby is not a crabby. However, another way you could view this, remember in the reading, look at the word problem again. It says some of her family members had short eyes. So remember, she still has that trait in her family or her genes. So instead of it being Punnett squares are just a probability or a percentage, we could say that maybe it skipped a generation. So you could say there wasn't a mistake. Short eyes skipped a generation because it is a recessive. And then mom, or the mom of our Miss Crab, is a carrier of the short eye gene. So again, that one could be a yes or no answer as long as you explained your answer. Hopefully you enjoyed SpongeBob genetics.